Welcome back. Now, a Buckingham Palace source has told Sky News this afternoon that the royal family believes that allegations against Prince Andrew should be examined in the proper and fullest ways. On Friday, Andrew, of course, announced that he was relinquishing the use of his titles and honours, and he again denied any wrongdoing. But the move has renewed calls from some MPs to change the law so that the King has the power to remove titles on his own initiative. As it stands, only Parliament can officially remove a person's titles. Well, one of those MPs is the MP for York Central, that's Rachael Maskell, and I spoke to her a little earlier about the bill that she's proposing. Rachael, very good evening to you. You are talking about trying to change the law here, or to bring a law into Parliament. Just exactly what do you want to bring about when it comes to Prince Andrew?
Well, we know at the moment, whilst the Duke of York can lay aside his title, he still holds his title. And I brought forward private members' legislation in the past in order to see titles removed, not just around this case, but it would be for all cases. A very simple amendment could be made to a constitutional bill, or a private member's bill could come forward to rotate this. And all that we need to do is either to establish a ground committee of both Houses of Parliament, the Lords and the Commons, coming together, making recommendation to the King, or the King himself making a decision, or a future monarch to be able to do that, of removing a title. It probably comes as a great surprise that you can give a title, but you can't remove it. So that's why I researched this issue. And of course, because the associations of Duke of York with the city I represent, the city of York, and we wanted to see that separation between the two. When polled, 88% of my constituents say that they didn't want the Duke to carry a title bearing the name of our city, and that's why I follow through on this issue. And since many of my constituents have written to me about this matter.
In saying that, I mean, I think there is precedent for some of this. I mean, the Duke of Albany, I think back in the 1910s, lost their title. Four people did after they sided with the Germans during the First World War. I think if you did want this to happen, there is simply just an act of Parliament, isn't there?
Well, you're referring to the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917, which was exercised as a result of being on the enemy's side during the First World War. The problem with that legislation is that it named individuals within the clauses, whereas my legislation would be able to then be applied to anybody in the future as well. So we wouldn't have this situation ever having to occur again, where we don't have the mechanisms in order to achieve the aim, which is obviously to end the use of the title.
Isn't the main problem here, though, is that Prince Andrew hasn't done anything wrong when it comes to the eyes of the law. He's not been convicted of any crime here. He's always denied any wrongdoing. I mean, under what circumstances would you be removing these titles?
Well, I'm not playing judge or jury here. I'm just simply saying to create the mechanism by which that could occur. But ultimately,
you're doing this in the context of Prince Andrew. You're doing this in the context of Prince Andrew. Let's be honest about that. The reason we're talking about this today is because of him.
And we're back in this space again, where there's been an unsatisfactory outcome, and this is what the victims and survivors' families are saying, and that they're the people we really do need to listen to today about all the associations. I mean, it's very clear that Andrew did have
Rachel.
those associations with Jeffrey Epstein.
We have to talk about the alleged victims here, because, as I say, he has not been convicted of anything.
No, I didn't make that association at all. What I said is that he had associations with Jeffrey Epstein, of which there were victims and survivors from that abuse that we do know took place. So, of course, what we want to make sure is that there are mechanisms in place, whether they're triggered or not, that I am not making that call. What I'm saying is that there aren't those mechanisms in place, and really there should be. And this would address issues around all titles and peerages as well, my bill would.
Well, just finally on that, I mean, you talk about the mechanism here, but there'll have to be someone making that judgment call, doesn't there? I mean, who would that be? And isn't the concern then that this could become party political, that essentially, not maybe necessarily in this case or further down the line, but that at some stage politicians could use it against people they simply just do not politically like?
Not at all. What it actually does is move the powers into the hands of the monarch, and that's what's really important. But setting up the mechanism has to go through Parliament because there are no mechanisms at the moment. I mean, I think in reality, what there would need to be is a discussion between the Palace and Parliament to determine exactly how far-reaching those measures are. But ultimately, there would have to be a clause in a constitutional bill or a private member's bill or some other government bill to be able to exercise that measure and put that in place.